What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy. Here with a look at the giant 12-game main slate on Friday, June 3rd across Major League Baseball on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. As always, we like to start by looking at the starting pitchers here at Occupy, and you can see here who my favorite one of the evening to roster is. It is Gerrit Cole with the New York Yankees in his matchup with the Detroit Tigers. Let's see how the Occupy model ranks this spot tonight. Cole with a slate high 20.8 OF index. We like to look at guys that have anything over 17 as elite on any slate. We have 3 guys that fit the bill tonight, and we have 3 more below that are actually super close that we should be interested in. So there are a lot of options at the top of the model, big picture. But for me, I'm going to start by trying to get Gerrit Cole into my lineups because he's the biggest favorite on this slate at minus 375 money line. Projects for 1.43 strikeouts per inning tonight. The Tigers are striking out at an above average rate about 23% of the time over the last 30 days, and they are averaging the least amount of fantasy points per plate appearance in that time frame over the last month. So a really strong opportunity to really score a ton of fantasy points tonight for Gerrit Cole and have an efficient outing. His StatCast performance recently has been reasonable as well. Shane McClanahan with the Tampa Bay Rays. Identical OF index to Gerrit Cole. $1,300 cheaper on DraftKings, more expensive on FanDuel. So a little bit of a different way to attack these two, I think. I think on FanDuel, it's pretty clear to lean towards Cole just for the salary savings. But let's say you have an expensive offense that you're trying to play tonight, and the savings from dropping from Cole to McClanahan will get you there. Our model does not have a problem with you doing that tonight, is basically what this says. Model thinks you should try to play both. That's certainly a possibility as well. Certainly have to see how the day shakes out. Both of these guys, big favorites. Moneyline movement in their favor early here in the morning. Really low opposing team totals, so both guys in really strong spots. Cole, I still prefer him to McClanahan straight up, independent of salary, because the White Sox, who McClanahan is facing tonight, are actually pretty tough to strike out right now. They're one of the hardest teams to strike out in Major League Baseball. They're 6th overall in terms of being the best at avoiding striking out. So that would be one thing that might make things difficult for McClanahan. Our models doesn't seem to worry too much about it, however. We project him for even more strikeouts per inning than Gerrit Cole at 1.47 tonight. His StatCast performance, a lot better than Cole's, allowing less hard contact. Batted ball distance a little further, but the ball's leaving the bats not as hard off of McClanahan's pitches. So that's kind of the difference between those two guys tonight. Corbin Burns, another ace on this slate at $10,100 on DraftKings, priced in between Cole and McClanahan, maybe the forgotten man. $10,500 on FanDuel, so cheaper than both of them. Creates a different decision criteria once again. Only a minus 152 moneyline favorite right now here about 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Projects for a really strong 1.25 strikeouts per inning pitch. That would be the highest in our model most nights. And he's got the best StatCast data out of these top 3 options in the model. Low batted ball exit velocity, low overall batted ball distance conceded over the last 2 weeks. So you have to like Corbin Burns and his matchup with the Padres, who are also below average in terms of fantasy points that they've had at the plate over the last month, and they strike out slightly above average. This is a better matchup for strikeouts than McClanahan has with the White Sox, but not as strong as Cole's matchup with the Tigers, at least looking at the recent sample for these lineups. Logan Gilbert for the Seattle Mariners, $8,600, facing the Texas Rangers. Texas, pretty dangerous lineup. They can certainly hit a ton of home runs. They can also strike out as well. They strike out at the 5th highest rate in Major League Baseball over the last month. So Gilbert, slight favorite, has a chance to do some damage tonight on the mound. 1.15 strikeouts per inning pitched. Worst exit velocity of every pitcher we've discussed so far. Someone that'll be very popular tonight, ranked just below Gilbert in our model, has the hardest batted ball exit velocity against over the last 2 weeks in Major League Baseball. It's Nathan Avaldi against the Oakland Athletics on the West Coast for the Red Sox tonight after an off day. He is a big favorite, minus 177 money on the money line. A little bit of line movement in his favor. Reasonable opposing team total. Reasonable salary. $8,000 on DraftKings. $8,800 over on FanDuel. We project him for right on the button a strikeout per inning. That's right in line with what he's done over the last year from June 2021 to present. He's averaged about 1.03 in that time frame. Something has to give here because Avaldi is allowing a ton of hard contact lately. Oakland has the least amount of home runs in Major League Baseball over the last month. Oakland has the second least fantasy points in Major League Baseball over the last month at the plate on a per plate appearance average, right behind Cole's matchup with the Tigers. So Evaldi's a good play tonight, but there is certainly a path to him getting blown up by these Oakland bats based off of what he's been allowing hitters to do over the last couple of weeks. Another arm on here that I think people will find themselves gravitating to if they're using our model tonight, it's Merrill Kelly with the Arizona Diamondbacks against the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates are also a bottom 5 offense in terms of fantasy points, and they are striking out at the 4th highest rate over the last month. So Merrill Kelly with the Diamondbacks at just $6,800 as a secondary starting pitcher on DraftKings may have some upside here this evening. Slight favorite, moneyline movement in his favor, 1.02 strikeout per inning pitched. Decent batted ball exit velocity, concerning batted ball distance allowed over the last couple of weeks, but I don't think he's faced anyone like the Pirates recently, so that certainly is something that could help him out. Ton of options tonight. We'll definitely have to clarify that further in the plug that'll come out this evening. We always like to start thinking about which offenses we want to play in our lineups by looking at who the worst pitchers in our model are. And tonight, it's Elvin Rodriguez of the Detroit Tigers facing the New York Yankees. We think the New York Yankees will be pretty popular, but we also think that they may rank pretty highly on our stack dashboard. Chase Silseth with the Los Angeles Angels. You see he has a low OF index here, but we don't have a money line in for this game yet because we actually don't know who the Phillies starting pitcher is. Silseth could rise in our model a little bit at a cheap price against a Phillies lineup that he projects to strike out a bunch of hitters against, and he has a really good StatCast profile. So I actually think the Silseth ranking at the bottom, if you're looking at our model early, if you're watching this video, I don't think that's something you can trust. Check in later today. Bruce Zimmerman with the Orioles. He's the second worst in our model if we eliminate Silseth, waiting for that money line to come in. Does not project for a ton of strikeouts at all, just half a strikeout per inning. And he allows one of the highest batted ball distance totals on this entire slate. It looks like the second highest amount of batted ball distance out of any pitcher that's throwing tonight. Bruce Zimmerman is going to be someone that we can probably target with some Cleveland Guardians players this evening. Chad Kuhl, pitching at Coors Field against the Braves. This is going to be the most popular stack without question because of Atlanta's nearly 7-run implied team total, playing at Coors Field where we have the massive 19% boost to hitters, it looks like, tonight at that park. Chad Kuhl, obviously someone people will be all over. Let's see what the model thinks. We have, just before we do that, we have Zach Eflin for the Phillies is who we think is going to pitch tonight. That's who a lot of people around the industry think is going to pitch tonight, but nothing has been confirmed by the Philadelphia Phillies just yet. No surprise, Atlanta against Chad Kuhl is number 1. We have the Angels against Zach Eflin, number 2. Really strong resume across the board. Still waiting for that team total to come in before we can really know what we want to do with the Angels tonight. The Rockies on the other side of the Coors Field matchup being pushed up by OF Index because of the scenario, the situation there in Colorado, but not a very good isolated slugging, weighted on base average, or team total projection this evening. So Colorado more high risk than anyone at the top here. The Blue Jays against Chichi Gonzalez are in a really strong spot tonight. So Chichi Gonzalez is a former Colorado Rocky who's now pitching for the Twins against the Blue Jays tonight. And we see the Blue Jays have the highest projected isolated slugging, highest projected weighted on base average, and the second highest team total for the team totals that we have so far this evening on this entire slate. They're 4th by OF index, but I will say Toronto is probably my favorite matchup tonight. Gonzalez, in the last calendar year of his outings, has allowed a 390 isolated slugging to right-handed hitters, 482 weighted on base average to right-handed hitters. Doesn't strike out anyone at a particularly high rate. Just a .55 strikeout per inning pitch ratio over the last year of his work. And tonight, in our pitcher model, we do have him in the bottom half here, and we project him for .7. That's just because Toronto has actually been striking out at a slightly above average rate against right-handed pitchers over the last month, but we're not scared by Gonzalez at all. I actually think he's a great pitcher to target this evening. This is his first outing in Major League Baseball this season. That's why we have no batted ball data from him via StatCast that's available, but we think, based on what we know about Chichi Gonzalez in the past, he's someone that hitters have taken advantage of fairly often in recent times here. So we actually think the Blue Jays are going to be one of the better options to use this evening. Now, I fired up our lineup builder at OccupyFantasy.com and ran 300 lineups through there using the software. Selected some of the top pitchers that we could use. Left it wide open to have it show me what it wants to do tonight. It uses each of these 4 top stacks fairly equally across the board as a primary stack on DraftKings. So that means a 5-man stack on DraftKings. We're getting roughly 20 to 25% each of Atlanta, the Angels, the Colorado Rockies, and the Toronto Blue Jays in our lineups tonight. So no clear preference just yet. Obviously, the Braves have this massive ranking, 68.4 OF index, 16 OF index points higher than anybody else in the model right now. It's not that we don't like the Braves. The Braves are great plays. You should probably play Braves hitters in low risk, in small field contests. But if you're playing in some of these largest field tournaments with thousands of other competitors that are trying to take down prizes tonight, understand that on a slate that has 24 teams that'll be playing this evening, the Braves are going to carry an outrageous amount of roster percentage of ownership compared to all of these other options in the slate. They have a great team total. They have a great off index rank. But there are other teams here that competitively rank with them in some of the other categories. Those being the Angels against the TBD starting pitcher and the Blue Jays against Chichi Gonzalez. So I do think Atlanta guys make sense to play tonight, but maybe only as a secondary stack. Maybe only the lower owned plays. And we primary stack some of these other options to get a little different in some of those larger tournaments across Major League Baseball here on Friday evening. Here on DraftKings, you obviously see I have Garrett Cole as my favorite pitcher. I've got 5 Blue Jays that are model likes tonight. These are actually the top 5 Blue Jays in the model against Chichi Gonzalez. George Springer with an 8.2 OF index is our highest ranked Blue Jay. It's just 9th overall in our model tonight, but I'm not super concerned about that. When we filter just for Toronto, we like to think anything above a 5 is elite in our model for hitters. And you see we have 6 of the 9 anticipated Blue Jays hitters with that criteria tonight. Even Alejandro Kirk at catcher, a decent score at a 4.7. Just can't play both him and Janssen in the same lineup. That's the issue there. Do think Toronto is going to be a great play tonight. We look at some of the batted ball data. It looks like from an exit velocity and a batted ball distance perspective, inside the top 50 across Major League Baseball. Every hitter in Major League Baseball over the last 2 weeks. Matt Chapman at third base, the 7-hitter in the order. Really cheap option in this lineup, just $3,700 on DraftKings, $2,700 on FanDuel. He could be a great play tonight in this lineup that's outside of the top 5. Some right-handed pitcher splits for Blue Jays hitters. The best hitters in this anticipated lineup against right-handed pitching in the Blue Jays lineup. Danny Janssen at catcher, a 482 isolated slugging percentage. Elite is 170. He's 300 points over the elite threshold against right-handed pitching at catcher at $4,500 tonight on DraftKings, $3,100 over on FanDuel. Danny Janssen of the Blue Jays, a great play in this matchup. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., a great play any night. 263 isolated slugging, 395. Weighted on base average against right-handed pitching over the last year of his plate appearances. George Springer on the leadoff hole, 270 ISO, 370 weighted on base average. Those are 3 Blue Jays I absolutely want in my primary stacks tonight. Springer, Guerrero, and Danny Janssen. And then 2 more guys out of this group are fine with me. Raimel Tapia is the only lefty that we're anticipating will be in the starting lineup tonight. Obviously a salary play to make the rest of it work, but he, and our model agrees, is my lowest priority hitter in this stack this evening. Atlanta is going to be facing Chad Kuhl, who actually has been pitching a little better recently. That's one thing to be aware of outside of just the moon that they're playing on tonight. Kuhl, not much of a strikeout pitcher, but limiting power upside and on-base average to right-handed hitters. Atlanta with a pretty right-handed hitter heavy lineup here, so they can certainly have success against Kuhl, but this is actually one of those spots where it's like we get a Coors Field bump, but the pitching matchup actually isn't as good as we would want it to if we're going to be targeting these hitters, especially at the roster rate they're going to receive. So that's just another data point to maybe weigh when considering whether or not to eat Atlanta tonight in DFS lineups. Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson from the left side of the plate, probably the best options against Kuhl tonight. They hit right-handed pitching better than anybody else in the Braves' anticipated starting lineup tonight. The Los Angeles Angels, this one is going to be a little tricky because this could change if we get a different starting pitcher. Our model is completely based off of the matchup between the hitter and the pitcher. So if we don't get Zach Eflin tonight, you're going to have to come back and check the Occupy model at OccupyFantasy.com and see if something changes with the Los Angeles Angels. That being said, a ton of these Angels hitters hit right-handed pitching extremely well. Eflin, if he is the guy we get tonight for the Phillies, does allow an elite isolated slugging to hitters from both sides of the plate, so we're not worried about that. Taylor Ward, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Jared Walsh, obviously the priority. They're the best hitters against right-handed pitching in this lineup. You could also consider Max Stassi at catcher, and Brandon Marsh has a fringe elite weighted on base average against right-handed pitching. Those are some interesting options with the Angels tonight. those are my favorite stacks. I think this is how I'm going to attempt playing some of my single entry contests tonight. Garrett Cole starting pitcher, some of these Blue Jays hitters. Again, do think it's going to be difficult to maybe get something like these two together here, just 23-33 per player remaining. So you're probably going to see people play pitchers like Logan Gilbert, leads you 26-66 per, Avaldi, 28-66 per, or even going all the way down to someone like Merrill Kelly in a good match against the Pirates, 32-66 per. I think that's a way to build a lineup like this fairly effectively, and that'll probably work with these Blue Jays hitters that are all priced over $4,000 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, Garrett Cole at starting pitcher, 4 high upside Blue Jays hitters, still $26.50 per player remaining. That's plenty over on FanDuel where the pricing is a little more wide open, allows us to do whatever we want. Should be an interesting slate tonight. 12 games across Major League Baseball, a lot of different options. Could mean a lot of things in our model shift by the time we get closer to lock time in the evening hours. So you're going to want to check the daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com. That'll be updated by about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And in there, we'll have our final rankings for our top starting pitchers, our top stacks, anything else we feel like you need to know for this evening's slate. Good luck tonight, and we will talk to you soon for more MLB DFS.